What's in this box? Well, it's not your dad's paramotor. Moster EFI is here. What's up, y'all? Neil from Aviator and Limitless Paramotors. This is the new Moster EFI. So we're gonna be doing a bit of an unboxing here, kind of show you what's all involved and what do you get in the box. What we got? Obviously, we have been promoting this engine, and there's a good reason why. We really believe that this is going to absolutely change the game for paramotors. It's what I personally believe. It's we as a company believe. Vittorazi obviously believes. Vittorazi 140 propeller, because 140 is it's just the way to go. Iridium spark plugs. This is the air box here. We'll go ahead and set this aside for now. Box of goodies here comes from the factory with a Vittorazi throttle. That's a proprietary battery for this engine. 60 amp fuse on the top of it there. There's also a processor underneath it that protects this battery. 7 hours is the conservative estimate for how long this battery will last you while you're flying. I've found personally on our EFI we've gotten almost an hour more out of it, and it literally only takes from 0% to 100%, it only takes an hour to charge. This is not some RC modified from Hobby Lobby or something like that. This is just a lot of thought put into this. This also saves them from having to mess around with a whole ignition system and charging system, because that was a limiting factor on a lot of the other attempts other people have done with EFI, is coming up with a charging system. So what they did was they just come up with a kick-ass battery to eliminate the charging system at all. You've seen the cardboard boxes, the random parts that come into this box. I know what you're here for. You want to see the Moster EFI itself. Let's do it. Here it is, Moster EFI. Some of this stuff you may be familiar with, the prop spacer, the prop flange for the Moster, belt adjusting tool, spark plug, all that sort of stuff. You already know what this is. This is the Moster EFI battery that we talked about a little bit earlier in the video. This is the charger that's going to come with that battery. Again, charges in less than an hour. These are the mounting apparatuses for the display unit, which is here. Also for the battery. And then we've got these fuel system parts here. As you can see, these are, I believe they're 30 micron, very, very fine filters. The EFI system needs really, really clean fuel to function correctly. If that injector gets a bit of dirt in it, it's not going to function the same. So to the owners that are going to be getting these Moster EFIs, need to make sure you put really clean fuel in it. This is the display unit here with the cable that matches and goes into the ECU. So with Moster EFI, you have a return line as well as your feed line, so we have to modify our tanks a bit. These fittings also come with the Moster EFI, and then this is some really special Tygon fuel line, very, very thick. It's impossible to kink it. It can also handle the pressure that is required for EFI, so you get quite a bit of length of this stuff here. This is really high-end Tygon Saint-Gobain fuel line that comes out of Italy that they use. They include it with all their Mosters, but this is the special stuff here. Then we also have our battery bracket that we had made, obviously for the battery, for Limitless. This fits our frame specifically. Have a vent here, this vent tube, run it all the way up to the top of the frame, and then there's a filter on top of here. Again, really important with these Moster EFIs is you're putting clean fuel into the fuel tank. You don't want a lot of dirt and sediment and all that stuff in there, because that's going to affect the performance of the EFI. In addition to these small filters that I was showing you here earlier, there's another filter inside the fuel tank that also comes with the Moster EFI. Again, the reason you need clean fuel is you have an injector that is computer controlled. It has to fire off a certain way at a certain amount of time, and if that injector becomes dirty, just like in your car, if it becomes dirty, your performance is going to be greatly affected. So this is probably the first opportunity that you guys have been able to have to see the motor off of a frame and get more in detail of the variations and differences between the regular Moster and the Moster EFI. So we'll start with the throttle body, or rotary valve as Vittorazi is calling it. And if you look down in this throat here, you can see there's no butterfly. It's a shaft that's been bored through the center of it, perpendicularly to the shaft, so that there's no obstruction whatsoever as that air is coming in. So get a little bit of increase in performance, and also much more control over the fuel and air delivery that's going into the engine. Beyond that, in the intake, it's just standard Moster here. You'll recognize all that stuff. Reed valve's the same and everything, but again, this rotary valve is totally different. There's a throttle position sensor that you can see here. It's telling the ECU where that throttle is at so it can deliver the correct amount of fuel. All the Moster EFIs are going to come standard with the Vittorazi V throttle with the double function kill switch. So double tap for start, single tap for kill, as you've seen in some of the other videos probably. The CHT is here. The CHT itself is drilled into the head rather than putting it under the spark plug like we normally do. Normally you put a cheap CHT on underneath the spark plug and get your temperature that way. They've moved it over to this blank space here, drilled and tapped it, so you get a lot more consistent temperatures with doing it that way versus putting it under the spark plug. Then that is going into this sending unit here. As you can see, this CHT taps into here. There's a power line coming from the ECU back into this sending unit. It's getting read and power from there, and this is where the EGT plugs into. This whole contained unit is for both sensors, EGT and CHT. Move on to the ECU. This is the brains of the operation here. This is the ECU here. It gets power from the battery with this connector here. Comes up into the plug. Moving up this way, I want to show you guys that the ECU is rubber mounted. So as you can see, that insulates it from a lot of the vibration. It's going to last way longer if it's insulated from the vibration. This connector here goes to the throttle body and the injector itself, the starting relay. This port here is for your display unit. As we showed you earlier with that long cable, display unit plugs into here. Making our way back down from the data port and all of that. This cable here. This is the starter relay. Standard starter relay that you'll probably recognize. It does have some data coming from the relay and the power source into the ECU so that the ECU knows how much voltage is going on, if the engine is being started, all that sort of stuff. This is the fuel pump unit. We do have a little bit of fuel sitting in this fuel line. These engines get ran up on a test stand, just like the factory are. They run these engines on the test stand to do all their checks on it and everything to ensure that it's good to go, ready to rock before it goes out the door. This unit here, this is made in-house by Vittorazi. Again, feed line and return line. This feed line here, this is where that tiny little filter goes into. And this is controlled by the ECU. So the ECU is setting the pressure throughout the RPM range, depending on what the EGT is reading, what the CHT is reading, all that sort of stuff. So all of that is done in-house. But this is the workhorse of the EFI. Right here is this fuel pump. Specific to the Moster EFI, you're gonna see here, this is an additional brass bushing to help ensure that this elbow is free. That's gonna reduce some of the maintenance that's involved with the Moster exhaust. So again, this is just for the Moster EFI. Hopefully you've gotten some more details on what's going on with these Moster EFIs. We're super pumped about it. These are all going on our Limitless chassis. This one in particular is going out to Pennsylvania, so shout out, buddy. Can't wait to build this for you. We are going to be doing kind of a white glove service with these things. So if you do buy a Moster EFI and you're able to come to Lake Wales, Florida for no additional cost to what you paid for this thing, we're gonna help you set it up. We'll do your hang checks, help you break it in, help you fly it, all the things you need to do with this to get you super squared away on this thing. We're super excited about it. This is absolutely gonna change the game of paramotors. We're taking it slow and steady, but the effort is totally gonna be worth it. So yeah, white glove service if you buy it with Limitless and you're able to come to Lake Wales. Hit us up about that. We're really excited to offer that to you. In addition to the white glove service that you can get with the Moster EFI and Limitless, if you're able to come to Lake Wales, we want to offer to you guys, if you buy a Moster EFI, powder coating at cost. So $200 for our standard Limitless color, which matches this shirt. Or if you've got a custom color you want to do with prismaticpowders.com, they're the powder provider for us. We can do that as well. That would be $300 and make your machine rad. I think it's another cool option we're going to do. If you're interested in the EFI, visit AviatorPPG.com. We have the dedicated section to the Moster EFI, so you can find more details on there as well. You can sign up on the waiting list to get on these. Now that they're coming, they're selling really good. So if you got that cash burning a hole in your pocket, I really recommend looking into these things. Again, they are going to change the game. This is Neil from Aviator. I hope you enjoyed this. Like, share, comment, and subscribe. We'll see you on the next one.